I was driving home late one night after visiting my parents. The highway was nearly empty, just me and the occasional set of headlights in the distance. The road stretched on, dark and endless, flanked by thick trees on both sides. My gas tank was low, so when I saw a sign for a rest stop a few miles ahead, I decided to pull in. It wasn't much, just a dimly lit gas station and a diner with flickering neon lights. I parked near the pumps, turned off the engine, and stepped out. The air was unnervingly still, and the station itself seemed abandoned. There was no attendant in sight, no other customers. The door to the small convenience store was slightly ajar, creaking softly as it swayed. I hesitated, then walked inside. The place looked as though it had been untouched for years. Dust covered the shelves and the overhead lights buzzed faintly. A faint smell of something rotten lingered in the air. I walked to the counter and rang the small bell. Nothing. Just silence. I leaned over, trying to peek into the back room, when a voice suddenly whispered from behind me. "You shouldn't be here." I spun around so fast my heart nearly stopped. An old man stood a few feet away, dressed in a gas station uniform that looked decades old. His face was pale, his eyes sunken, and his expression unreadable. "I just need some gas," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "There ain't no gas here," he muttered, glancing toward the door. "You need to leave. Now." A cold shiver ran down my spine. I didn't argue. Something about the way he said it, his urgency, made my instincts scream at me to listen. I nodded and turned to leave when a loud bang echoed from the back of the store. The old man stiffened, his breathing shallow. "Go. Now." I didn't need to be told again. I rushed out, my footsteps echoing in the empty station. As I reached my car, I noticed something strange. The air around me felt heavier, like the atmosphere itself was pressing down on me. The trees that lined the road seemed closer than before, their branches unnaturally twisted. My car suddenly felt like the only safe place in the world. I jumped in, locked the doors, and turned the key. The engine sputtered but didn't start. I tried again. Nothing. My pulse pounded in my ears. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw movement in the reflection of my rearview mirror. A shadowy figure stood near the entrance of the gas station. At first, I thought it was the old man. But as my eyes adjusted, I realized it wasn't. It was something else. Its form was too tall, its limbs too long, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. I pressed the ignition button frantically, my hands shaking. The figure took a slow step forward, then another, and another. The air inside my car grew suffocating, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I could see its face now, or rather, the lack of one. Just a void where features should have been. Finally, the engine roared to life. I slammed the car into reverse, tires screeching as I sped out of the lot. I didn't look back. I didn't stop until I reached the next town, my hands still trembling on the wheel. Later, I looked up that gas station. There was no record of it ever existing. The area had been abandoned for decades. But there were stories about travelers who stopped there and were never seen again. I don't know what I saw that night, but I know one thing for certain. I was never supposed to leave.